What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over some quick tips to hopefully help you stop losing to the Storm Beasts Pom Poms in Fortnite Chapter 6 Season 3. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what you think of the Storm Beast, and if you guys would like to use my creator code in the item shop, it is EvolveJake, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So the Storm Beast is going to be Season 3's melee weapon, and I actually personally find it to be way less irritating than the Typhoon Blade or the Kneecapper Bat was. You activate this item and then you turn yourself into like a beast form, and then you have claws as a melee weapon while in beast form, but it doesn't really have any sort of like ranged swipe attack like we saw with the Typhoon Blade. And since the player has to transform into the beast, it is incredibly obvious when somebody is using this, right? Like, you're not going to be having a fight with somebody and then have them just randomly start meleeing you. You know what I mean? They're either completely in melee form or they aren't. And I think that makes it a lot easier to deal with than what we saw with the Typhoon Blade. The durability on this item is also much more problematic for the person using it because its HP and durability are one and the same. When someone transforms into the beast, they have 600 total health basically if the beast is full HP. So you need to do 600 damage to completely destroy its durability. And that sounds like a lot, but with how good the Spire AR is and how large its magazine is, I think you can deal 600 damage pretty quick. If you try to just stand there and shoot at it while it melees you to death, it is going to win that race every time probably. But if you play it more so just to play your life, I think, and then get damage over time, I think you're going to have a really easy time dealing with it. I think the main struggle a lot of people have is they focus more on fighting it and, you know, eliminating it than they do just their survival. Your survival and like your positioning needs to be more important to you at all times than while fighting the Storm Beast than just dealing damage to it. It's kind of like a boss in like a mini game, or even Shogun X that we had in the past, where like when he was doing certain things, you just get away from those and then you do damage while you can, right? That's how a lot of boss fights go in a lot of games, and that's how fighting the Storm Beast is going to be. So this season has a lot of mobility items, and with the Storm Beast being melee only, all you need to do is just constantly back up from it, deal damage while you can, and then back up again. I typically just kind of launch myself twice with the base boost gloves and then look back at the beast and shoot it. And then once it gets back to me, I just boost myself twice with the gloves again, and then just rinse and repeat this. And the Spire AR actually does have decent enough hipfire to where you can hit some shots just hipfiring at it from the sky. And you can also potentially hit it with your base boost gloves to send it away from you while sending yourself in the other direction. So I think if you aren't someone who's gotten accustomed to using the base boost gloves well, then this item is going to be a problem for you. But if you are decent with the gloves, I think it's very easy to deal with the Storm Beast, provided you have them. If you have to fight a Storm Beast off spawn when you have like one weapon, that's probably GG's. It's going to be rough to beat. But once you're in like the mid to late game and you've had time to loot, and that's actually where I see most players complaining about this, is someone using the Storm Beast in the final 1v1. I think that's one of the easiest fights you could have. So and when it comes to mobility, that's good for dealing with the Storm Beast. Obviously, the base boost gloves, the mythic version, is going to be very good. The Robin Grappler is also a great option to have. The dashes that you can get from the dash sprite can also be quite helpful. Anytime we have any sort of melee weapon in the game, being able to just dash at a melee range can make your life a lot easier. And with this week's update that added the Storm Beast gloves, they also added the mythic base boost gloves into the regular loot pool, kind of. You can get it from A and S tier hero crates. And the mythic gloves have 4 uses, which makes it easier to deal with the Storm Beast because, as I was saying, you kind of shoot yourself twice, deal damage to the beast, shoot yourself twice, deal damage to the beast. In that time, you should have gotten a charge or 2 back, and then you can just kind of rinse and repeat that over and over again. So getting to A tier or getting to S tier, I think is very important. Ever since they added the mythic gloves this way, it is like a goal of mine from the moment the game starts. Like, obviously get your loot and play the game, but getting to A tier as fast as I can, that way I can get mythic gloves as fast as I can, is going to make it much easier to deal with the Storm Beast, on top of just having several other advantages throughout the course of the game. If you're fighting anybody who has regular gloves and you have mythic, you have a mobility advantage on them, and that's something that can really add up in a fight when it comes to like chasing them, trying to reset the fight versus them, running away from them. Anything, having the better gloves is just always going to be better. The improved sprint jump on the core medallion is also pretty helpful at dealing with the Storm Beast because you can kind of just like sprint jump over it while invisible. And some people, this can kind of throw them off if they aren't the greatest. And a lot of times, the people who are going to be relying on the Storm Beast most are going to be those players that aren't the greatest. So I really liked having the core medallion before this update. My opinion on that has only gotten better. And Fortnite actually fixed a bug with the core medallion recently because there was like a weird problem where your sprint wouldn't regenerate if you were jumping. That's been fixed, and now your sprint regenerates completely normally when you have the core medallion. So there's not any downside to having the core medallion aside from, you know, putting yourself on the map. Cars can also be somewhat decent versus the Storm Beast, but you're not invincible in a car. You can get hit by the Storm Beast when you're in a car, but a lot of times when I'm fighting Storm Beasts, they don't have the best time hitting me. So if you do run out of gloves or need to reload or just something, there's a car there. Making use of that, you know, can be pretty helpful to at least stall out the Storm Beast. Revolvers can also be pretty good. The kill switch revolvers kind of allow you to slow down time while you're in air. And this is really good versus a melee item because if you're just floating in the sky shooting at them, the Storm Beast cannot do a single thing about that. And the damage potential on the revolvers is actually very good, and they're very accurate when doing this. The mag size is going to be a concern, but it's not the biggest deal if you have the boon that makes it to where your revolvers reload whenever you use any sort of parkour, because that slowdown effect counts as parkour with the revolvers. So if you just absolutely hate the Storm Beast, I think the revolvers are a direct counter. And the fact that the Storm Beast is stuck in melee mode until they, you know, choose to leave it, they can't just swap to a gun really quickly and then swap back to the claws. Revolvers work great versus it, especially in just like a straight up 1v1 versus it. You can also just leave. The thing about the Storm Beast is its health doesn't regenerate, or its durability doesn't regenerate. And so you can just leave, deal with it later maybe. Hopefully it's lost HP by then, and then it'll make it even easier for you to deal with. Like 600 HP sounds very like insurmountable, but it's really not. And if you have a Storm Beast that isn't even full HP, you're gonna have a very easy time dealing with that. Unfortunately, you can't really know the health of it just immediately. It doesn't have like a health bar like cars do. That would be something that would be kind of interesting to see. But just leaving and maybe dealing with it later is an option. There is, you know, the possibility that that person could go on and find more Storm Beast Pom Poms, and then you just have to deal with it later anyways. But odds are it's going to be harder for them to find it as the time goes on in the game. So if they're using it a lot throughout the course of the game, their HP will be dwindled down, and they'll be easier to deal with in the long run. I've had a decent amount of people complain about this in team game modes because they're like, the Storm Beast just pushes me and then like the enemies are shooting at me. And that can be a problem. But also on the flip side of this, if you're playing squads, you have 4 people to shoot at the Storm Beast to deal 600 damage. Like 4 people can deal 600 damage incredibly fast. I deal about 200 or more every time I kite back versus it. If I had 3 more people shooting at the same time as me, we're easily doing 600 damage. So you can melt the Storm Beast down easier in team game modes. But also you can kind of take advantage of the fact that one of their people can't shoot a gun. So like if it's duos, for example, this would be easier to kind of explain. You and your teammate can kind of just agree, let's go kill the other one and then deal with the Storm Beast afterwards, you know? Or run away with mobility. If the Storm Beast chases you and their teammate isn't there yet, you can kind of focus the Storm Beast down. Having certain teammates be melee only and certain have weapons and having them have completely different movement as well, I think makes it easy to create some sort of separation. And then if you take advantage of that separation, whether it's focusing the Storm Beast or focusing the non-Storm Beast players, I think it can actually make fights easier as long as you and your teammates just kind of do something on the same page. If I was playing duos, I would love for one of them to just be in the Storm Beast because that's going to make the fight a lot easier. When the Storm Beast is destroyed, the player using it loses about 40 white health. Oddly enough, this seems to vary. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it's just like the last shot actually does damage to the person or what, but I've seen it do 41 and I've seen it do 37. So I don't, like I said, I don't really know why that's the case. But either way, the player takes some amount of damage when their Storm Beast is destroyed. And I like to somewhat keep track of the amount of damage I've done to it. This is going to be easier in solos. But let's say I know I've done like 500 damage to the Storm Beast. I want to make sure my weapon is loaded before I deal that final 100 damage, because when you destroy the Storm Beast, not only does the person take damage, but there's like a bit of an animation, and I don't know what, I think they might have their pickaxe out, when you actually destroy it. And so if you have ammo in your magazine ready to go and you're already shooting at them as they're in that animation and as they're just like kind of disoriented with the fact that they're back to human form, you're going to get a lot of damage on that person, potentially just eliminate them outright, or make it to where it's easy for you to like continue fighting them. If they take like 40 white health damage and then you deal another, 100 of shield, and then they start getting away, that's someone that is incredibly weak, and you should be able to like close that kill out. So basically, like I said, I try to keep track of how weak it is. That way I know somewhat for certain when it's about to go down. That way I can take advantage of that and eliminate the player as they're kind of coming back to being a human and playing the game normally. But that is going to be it for this video. The Storm Beast has a lot of health. Like, it takes a while to kill, but the lethality of it, I think, is much worse. Like it's not as good at eliminating people as like the Typhoon Blade was or the Bat was. It just takes longer to eliminate them. And I think as long as you kind of stay calm, have mobility, and play somewhat smart, it's very easy to eliminate the Storm Beast. The main problem is just going to be with third parties maybe. But even then, as long as you're paying somewhat attention, there's so much mobility in the season that it's very easy to reposition and reset fights. Let me know what you guys think of the Storm Beast down in the comments below. If you guys did enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.